Welcome back, everybody. This is Fat Guy Sports Talk. As always, I am Aaron, joined by...
I'm Tyler.
I'm TJ, I think.
And we are going to keep rolling along here. Football is back and gaining steam. Week 2 just went by, and we're going to discuss our thoughts here. I think this week we're going to start with my Bears. Can we say they're tied atop the division for right now? It'll make me feel better. Please.
It makes you feel better, I guess.
It might be the only week.
At week 2 of the 2020 NFL season, the Chicago Bears, after bone-crushingly smashing on the Giants with a huge point deficit, are tied atop.
Look at the point differential between the wins. You guys have like a 6-point differential. The Packers have a 32.
Don't use logic.
Yeah. Fine, I'll just say the undefeated Chicago Bears. How about that?
Okay.
I'll take it.
Okay, we'll take that, because that's at least true. So, yeah, they played the hapless Giants, and
Y'all had a bye week, and you almost blew
Not
it.
really. Not fucking really. I don't know what to expect from this team, and if I have to watch another game where my heart rate goes through the roof and
that game was
that
nuts.
final play.
So I watched like the first half of that game, and I went in. I was like, man, Trubisky has grown up a little bit.
Right.
And then the second half of that game happened, and I was like, never mind. Like, I thought you guys were going to blow them out like 30 to like 30-10, 30-14. Like, you guys were going to put up points. And then Trubisky did like nothing the rest of the game except for throw interceptions. It was ridiculous.
So here's the thing with the interceptions. Both of his interceptions, I don't think entirely his fault. The first one he threw to Robinson he was getting too risky. He was firing a lot of balls, and he was getting away with it. He had a lot of good throws, and I think he just pushed the envelope a little too much with that. The thing with that play, though, I'll probably touch on it here in a minute. That was not called interference, but the Bears got screwed by a similar play late in the game where Eddie Jackson did almost the exact same thing. He was playing the ball, hit the receiver just a half second before the ball got there, called interference on him. That would have been a pick six, should have sealed the game. That first interception that Trubisky threw, I don't know who picked it off, but did the same thing to Robinson, and they didn't call anything on it. Whether it's legal or not, as a referee, you have to call those the same way. And that irritated me.
Here's the problem. It's not illegal to hit the receiver at the same time as the ball gets there.
Right.
And the problem is that with referees, it's all eyesight. So a referee that might make one call early on and not another call later on, he might have had a different view of it. He might have also just seen the play differently too. And he might have thought that later play was early, where the earlier one was directly on time, or he hit him as the ball got there. So I can understand really close plays like that. The one thing I will say, though, is you can't really say your team got screwed by the call when you still won the game.
We still won, but
New Orleans, for example. Now, New Orleans probably wasn't going to win that game against the Raiders, but there was that end of that last drive where the Raiders threw the ball downfield to Henry Ruggins. The guy, it was pass interference, but it was so far out of the way. Like, Henry Ruggins was 10 yards, but there was no way he was going to get that ball just going at it. The whole pass interference wasn't too much. It was more bumping. I think that call could have been pulled back because that changed the game. That sealed it for the Raiders when they got that field goal.
It changed the game for the Bears.
That was
It took points off the board. That's what it did. Granted, the Bears still won, and I'm never the one to say that the refs cost a team a game. You can't put it down to one blown call. If your team shouldn't have been in that situation to begin with, refs will never cost a game. Do refs make bad calls? Yes, but refs ref call.
No, refs do cost games, and I will point to the Tuck rule as an example of that.
Okay, but my point exactly. Had the Raiders not put themselves in that position, that's my point exactly. You can't say a game was called off one missed call. If it got to that point,
as a
yes.
Packer fan with Fail Mary.
The Fail Mary. The NFC Championship game. The Saints in the NFC Championship game 2 years ago. That was the same situation. The refs made a bad call that ended up costing the game. But if the Saints never put themselves in that position, that call never would have happened. You know, there were
That's
tons
true,
of
but
other
I think
things that could have happened before that.
The thing about the NFL is when people say that, they're saying, well, don't make it a 3-point game. Don't make it a 4-point game. Don't make it a 6-point game. Make it so if you do have that mistake, it's not going to cost you. The problem is, especially, let's take regular season out of it because we brought up some postseason examples.
Mm-hmm.
In the postseason, you're playing the best of the best.
Yeah.
Saying that you shouldn't be in that situation is kind of a shitty thing to say, simply because, like, a lot of those games are the best teams in the NFL playing against each other. They're going to be close. So, well, yes, a situation like we'll take the Bears one. If that were to happen in the postseason, I'd be losing my damn mind if I was a Chicago fan, because it's clearly, you know, in my opinion, if I'm a fan, I'm probably going, that's clearly the same play. Why are you calling it different? But I wouldn't necessarily agree that the Bears shouldn't have been in that position where that call is going to turn it against them, because, you know, right now, yeah, the Giants are 0-2 and the Bears are 2-0. They weren't that far apart on that field at all. So
First half they
were
were
pretty well evenly matched. So saying don't be in that position is kind of weird. Now, yeah, it took points off the board because that was a much different game. And who knows, you might have put up more points with the momentum swing.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know about the, you know, don't be in that position to begin with, because these are professional athletes. This isn't, you know, Wisconsin playing Dayton College where it's going to be a 65-0 game. These are going to be close. These are the best athletes in the sport, in the world, playing on the field, even if it's like the Lions.
Besides that, though, the Bears. They need to put a complete game together. They're lucky to be 2-0. They could very well be 0-2 right now. I'm happy they're 2-0. Don't get me wrong, but this team has a lot of work to do, consistency-wise. So much for Allen Robinson wanting to be extended, and then where was he on Sunday? He made a couple of good catches, but I didn't see any reason to extend him.
Keep in mind,
Do I think they should?
9 times. He caught 33% of the passes that were sent his way. Those are not good numbers.
No.
For wanting a contract. I will say one thing about your boy Trubisky, because I keep slamming him every week. In 2 games this year, he has played 60 minutes of spectacular football. Unfortunately, he's also played 60 minutes of absolute garbage football.
Mm-hmm. He needs to get it together for a full game. Otherwise, Foles is going to get his chance sooner than later.
And I'd be worried because Foles has got to know Chicago's his last chance to start.
Yeah. The defense, I can say the same thing about them too. Tale of two halves. I don't get, you were on top of the Giants the whole way. And then the second half, I'm sick of watching cornerbacks 10 yards off. I'd rather you get beat on a 60-yard pass than watch them go consistently 5 plays in a row and pick you apart 10, 15 yards at a time. You know, you're giving them passes. The defense needs to put the foot on the pedal. I don't know what Pagano's doing. I want to see more pressure in the second half when you have a lead. Those are my thoughts on it, I guess.
I really don't like either one of those coaching staffs. I think who is it? It's Matt Nagy for Chicago, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's Nagy or I don't know.
Nagy.
He has not impressed me at all as a coach. He was supposed to be this offensive mastermind that was going to come in. The routes you guys are running are not spectacular. The quarterback play has gotten worse if it's gotten better. I mean, if you take the 60 and 60 analogy I just made of 60 minutes of great play, 60 minutes of bad play, his bad play is worse than he had all last season. His good play, is better, but his bad play is terrible. The offense does not look very innovative. It doesn't look like you would expect, and even the plays being run do not look like what you'd see out of somebody that's supposed to be an offensive innovator coming into the team. And honestly, the defense, for as stacked as it is mediocre. It should be way better. He reminds me of Mike McCarthy, honestly, at this point. And then you go to the Giants, who have spent all this capital in their front line with their number 1 draft pick. They got Saquon Barkley. They've invested in Daniel Jones, who they still have not given a receiver on that team. They brought in Golden Tate to be the starting receiver, and some of the rookies have performed, but when you're talking about a bunch of no-name people, the no-name people are going to put up numbers if they're the only options.
Golden receivers is tight end.
Yeah, he doesn't
Yeah.
have
Evan
any
Ingram
on that
is
team,
the
and now
only receiver
Saquon
he really
Barkley's
has.
out for the season. And
Yeah.
what are you going to do if you're the Giants at this point? Daniel Jones just looks like young Eli, not even young Eli Manning, because young Eli Manning was spectacular. It was middle-aged Eli Manning he looks like. And they have nothing on that team now. Their defense is meh. There's no excitement on that offense. If I'm a Giants
I
fan,
say
I'm
open up
checked
the
out for the
playbook.
season.
Let Daniel Jones have fun.
Yeah.
They're gonna lose anyway.
That's the
Might as
worst
well.
that
You're
can
not going to
happen.
win
Yeah.
anything with that team. Let him throw the football and kind of do what he wants to do to have fun.
Exactly. Yeah. Let him go out there
So
and play the game he loves.
So going into the Lions-Packers, Tyler, how do you feel?
It looked scary at the beginning. Definitely the first two drives, the Lions just handily went down there and scored on them. And then after that, the Packers decided 14 points is enough to give them and came out to play. Going into the half, up by 3, I thought they were going to come out of the half and play it slower, but LaFleur said he doesn't like letting up. He thought that they failed when Minnesota came back that close in the game last week, and they came out firing. Jones had that 75-yard touchdown run, and immediately after that, a pick six. I mean, the team, they want to win, and they want to win with big numbers.
It's tough to find something bad to say about the Packers, and as a Bears fan, it hurts to say that. The only thing I can say is that they need to start games better. That's 2 games in a row where they've gotten
I don't even
sluggish
think that's the
starts.
case. See, the thing that I've noticed watching this Packers team is I kind of harped on Rodgers last week because y'all were blowing him up and how great he was. And I was like, dude, look at who he played. Look at who he played this week. There's not a lot of talent on that team, and he put up mediocre numbers. The thing that has impressed me is that running game.
Yeah.
Aaron Jones, I was kind of curious seeing how he would come into the season. I wasn't sure if he was a sure thing after what we saw. Typically, you get those receivers that have big years once in a while. But he impressed me. I mean, he averaged 9.3 yards a carry. Well, let's not forget, Jamal Williams also averaged 7.9 as well. So they tore up the Lions in the run game, which is going to be expected this year. But just how dangerous Jones has been outstanding to watch. He also added 4 grabs for 68 yards in the passing game.
And an amazing catch, too.
18 of 30, 2 touchdowns, no picks. I like that he's not turning the ball over. He only threw for 240 yards. But I'm liking the kind of change because as Rodgers is getting older, they know he doesn't have the receivers on the outside. They're asking Jones to make plays, and he is. And if anything, it's making the offense better because Rodgers isn't under as much pressure, and you guys are still putting up, 40 points a game at this point with your run game pretty much doing it all.
Mm-hmm.
Defensively, I'd like to see more, but when you're up when you win by 21, you're going to get thrown against, even if Stafford doesn't have the stats to back it up. So I'm not mad that you guys gave up 21 there. I mean, if that score was 24-21, you'd be applauding the defense, right? The only reason I'm saying anything is because you put up 42 points. So, but I thought the Packers did outstanding that game. I was really kind of shocked to see how good Aaron Jones was.
Yeah, honestly,
he's on my fantasy team.
The only bad thing to really say about the Packers would be Rodgers didn't break 250 yards.
Yeah, and
he doesn't need to, though.
Just seems like he's lost a step. He doesn't look like Tom Brady. It doesn't look like he lost as much of a step as Brady did last year or as much as Breeze is looking like so far this year. But, I mean, you can tell he's also getting old. He has nobody that can get open on his offense, especially when Adams went down. Yeah. So, what do you really expect out of him when you don't give him anything to work with? He still threw 2 touchdowns and no picks. So I don't think Rodgers is bad or having a bad year. He's just not having that outstanding
has different options now. He doesn't need to throw for 300 yards.
He doesn't need to drive the ball. He doesn't need the Mike McCarthy offense. Basically, just forget about the run. He can hand it off. It's just that we're used to seeing Rodgers play at such a spectacular level that just good play seems bad to us.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm sorry, but I don't care what team you are. If your quarterback throws for 240 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and you win by 42, you're elated to have that. I just expect more out of Rodgers because he's one of the greatest to ever play, but he's also getting old, so you have to understand that too.
This is a team that I want to see them get a test. Bears, I want to see them get a test too. That will tell us how good they really are. Vikings and Lions for the Packers. The Packers should have beat them easily if they're as good as they think they are. This is a team that
I
was
honestly
13
don't
and
see a threat to the Packers outside of the Seahawks in the NFC. I don't.
The
I
next
thought
week,
maybe Dallas
the
could be
next
one. What?
threat we have coming up is next week with the Saints.
Mhm.
I'm
And
not.
like you
Where are
said-
you playing? Do you guys play in New Orleans or do you play in Green Bay? I'm not worried about Drew Brees out of on the on the road.
I'm not exactly sure where they play. Don't check that.
Because I don't think New Orleans is that good, especially with Michael Thomas out. Now, he might be back next week. They did neglect to put him. They even mentioned it in the broadcast last night, is that he hasn't been put on the 3-week IR. So he could be back next week. He could also be back the week after. We don't know.
It's at New Orleans.
So that could be a dangerous threat. But at the same time, you know what makes dome stadiums dangerous to quarterbacks? Noise. You know what New Orleans is not going to have a lot of?
noise.
I honestly don't think New Orleans is going to be able
It's
to
a
keep
prime
up.
time game too, and
Yeah.
Rodgers shines in prime time.
Rodgers
too,
shines
so.
in prime time.
Rodgers
So does
shines in
Drew's,
the
and
dome.
so does Drew Brees. I can't say his name tonight. Drew Brees you know who I mean. The New Orleans Saints quarterback, apparently named Drew Brees, is
They
he
should-
shines
that
at
should
home.
be-
Never bet against Drew Brees at home.
That's the
I
new
have. I've been saying
craft
Drew
beer.
Brees.
It's a new craft beer being served at the Superdome. Brew Drees.
I'm about it. I want my cut. We have this on film and the date we're being recorded. If it comes out after this, I want my money. Pay me.
Deal.
Um,
Speaking of the Saints,
you do
unless-
not bet against him at home. I'm sorry, I'm not going to do it, even with Michael Thomas out. But this is a very winnable game for the Packers. There's nobody in the NFC that's dangerous. I don't see outside of the Seattle Seahawks. There is nobody that frightens me to play if I'm the Packers.
I think this.
Nobody in
Now
the
with all the
NFC
injuries.
North. Nobody in the NFC West except for the Seahawks. Cardinals are going to put up a fight. They'll be a playoff team, but I'm not worried. NFC South. Who are you worried about there? Nobody. Maybe the Saints if Breeze kicks it in, but he looks like he's lost a step.
Mhm.
I'm a little bit worried about the Falcons if they can figure out how to not implode the second half of games, because the first half they're outstanding, and then that defense decides to put on the high school team and they go to sleep. Who are you worried about in the NFC East? The Cowboys? Come on.
If the Seahawks are going to be the only one to give them a test, and that's going to be a shootout if they end up playing each other at some point.
I do not know that if you have an Aaron Rodgers playing the way Aaron Rodgers has played the last 2 weeks, if you guys stand a chance against the Seahawks right now. They are looking really good.
Mhm.
Now, that said, you bring in Aaron Rodgers that is there to play, that's going to be a fight, and that's the NFC Championship game I want to see.
Yeah.
Let's continue on this trend of 2-0 teams. TJ,
Hey,
your Raiders
I did.
shocking the world last night.
I don't think we did. Like, I looked into that game, and on paper, I was like, nah, the Saints are going to destroy them. But then I was like, this is also the inaugural game in Las Vegas. The Saints are not that good. I picked the Raiders to win this game on my elimination thing, so I don't have to use them again, so I win that.
Nice.
But Drew Brees played not great. Alvin Kamara was pretty impressive on a couple of runs. Overall, the Raiders' offense was humming, but, I mean, it revolved around Darren Waller. And, yeah, Derek Carr put up respectable numbers, 28 of 38, 280-some yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Josh Jacobs didn't do great. I think he had, like, under 90 yards and averaged less than
88 yards, 27
One thing
carries.
that annoyed me, and what I watched is they kept trying to hand him the ball out of the shotgun after the Saints continuously stopped him in the backfield.
Well, keep in mind, I'm pretty sure the Raiders are missing. They were missing a.
They're
good
missing
chunk of their
Trent.
offensive line.
Was it Trent Williams? Or
Trent
Brown?
Williams and Richie Incognito.
Yeah.
So they were missing 2 of their starting linemen, so they were trying to give Derek Carr a little bit of space. So I understand that. And Josh Jacobs, I mean, yeah, he's not the quickest guy, but I'm not worried about handing the ball off to him. That New Orleans defense is way better than people give it credit for. They have outstanding cornerbacks, and they have fantastic defensive linemen led by Cameron Jordan.
They do.
Like, they're a good team. That said, what really surprised me was how good the Raiders' defense was. especially the rookie. Like, he was making plays. He was hitting people. So I like to see him, Jonathan Abram. He was fantastic. This is, he didn't play last year because he got injured, but I think before the season even started. We didn't get to the quarterback, which concerns me, but Drew Brees is surprisingly hard to sack.
And
So
he didn't play well. That
did not
interception
play
he
well.
threw at the end of the first half there was, he threw it right to the dude. I
Oh,
don't know
yeah.
who.
Yeah. I was shocked at that. I watched that
I'm
play
like,
and I was
where
like,
were
is
you
he
throwing
blind?
that? Yeah, where were
Yeah,
you throwing
I
that?
didn't even, I haven't watched this play over again, so I might have just missed it the first time, but it looked like there was no Saint in the area. It looked like he just missed, like he thought it was a Saint and threw the ball to him, and he was like, thanks.
The guy he was trying to hit was another 5 to 10 yards behind him.
Yeah, he didn't, it was not a good throw.
No.
That said, the Raiders are one of those teams that I don't know about. They're not exceptional in any aspect of the game, but they get very good team wins. Week 1 was a team win. Nothing impressed me individually about any performance on the field. Maybe Josh Jacobs with 3 touchdowns. Darren Waller impressed me this week, but I'm not looking at that offense and going, man, they're scary. I'm looking at it and going, how did they do that? They didn't have a great running game. Derek Carr wasn't exceptional, but Darren Waller just blew up. Defensively, they weren't outstanding. I would say more Drew Brees had a bad game than their defense was fantastic, but they're getting wins, and they got a statement win against what everyone believed would be a fantastic team in the Saints. So I don't know really what to think of the Raiders at this point. I think they could be a playoff team.
Yeah, with the
I
expanded
don't know how
playoffs
far
this year.
they'll go. I don't think they'll beat the Chiefs. That's
I don't
for sure.
know. Do we want to get into that?
You don't know. Did you see Patrick Mahomes with that comeback win? He is nuts.
They only put up 20 points.
They didn't need to put up more. And remember, he struggled.
They did.
Terrible.
They were behind that whole freaking game.
Yeah, but he was terrible until that final quarter where he was just – you cannot ever count the Chiefs out.
No,
if you want to beat
can't.
the Chiefs,
No.
You need to have 30 points up in the fourth quarter minimum. And they need to have, not a lot.
Not necessarily. I think the Chargers proved you can almost beat them.
Did they, though?
Break the scoreboard. It went to
but
overtime.
what I'm saying is I don't trust that the Chiefs don't win that game if the Chargers are up 27-3. I think the Chiefs could have come back in that game. And I just think they get lulled into this sense of cockiness, and then they're like, oh, man, we could lose this game. We better go play. That's kind of how it feels to me. This is the second time we've seen him do this.
The Chargers had control of that game with a rookie quarterback who found out he was starting minutes before kickoff.
Minutes before the game, because Tyrod Taylor had to go to the
Herbert
hospital.
did amazing, too.
He had an incredible
game. He did very good. He did a lot better than I thought he was going to do.
311 yards, 66% completion rate, threw a touchdown. I mean,
I was looking at the score and I was like, why is Jared Goff on the stat line for the Chargers? And I was like, oh, it's because the Chargers and the Rams have super stupid similar icons now.
Yeah, they play in the same stadium too now.
Yeah, but you know what? They could not use almost identical icons, at least from a distance. Up close, you can tell a difference. But when you have LA in yellow and blue.
Yeah, that's true.
But since we're talking about
Patrick Mahomes, if you remember, he was throwing at 30% completion to start that game. And he ended up winding back to 54%, still threw for 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, ran for 54 yards.
That's what is a good marquee of a championship team. They win ugly-looking games.
Yeah. And they still find a way to make it look pretty. I thought at the beginning of last year, because everyone had said on Patrick Mahomes' rookie year, Andy Reid was like, this is the best quarterback I've ever seen in my life. And that's high praise from Andy Reid, but, it's his team, so he's probably blowing smoke. Then you had Patrick Mahomes for a full season, and I was blown away. He wins the Super Bowl. I'm blown away. Watching, I've never seen a quarterback do the things he does so effortlessly. Aaron Rodgers, it always looked like just pinnacle precision on his throws to dissect people. Patrick Mahomes just looked like he's screw you, and just throws it up and just somehow gets it in every time. It's nuts.
Yeah.
You know who that reminds me of? Michael Vick.
No. Michael Vick had no accuracy. The best
He
Michael
made it
Vick
look
was
so
when he had a
easy,
broken
though.
leg.
The distance,
He
yeah.
did. He just tossed it up and
the
the difference is Patrick Mahomes comes near his receivers where Michael Vick would throw it into the stands.
Yeah. All right. So moving on from the Chiefs, where should we go to next? Tyler, you said the Browns.
I
don't know
mean,
why?
so it's the Browns Bengals. Everyone knows it's terrible, but look at Joe stat line. Tell me you don't want to talk about that. 61 passing attempts, 0 interceptions from a rookie, with no receivers besides Tyler Boyd, really.
I just want to point out, A.J. Green was present that entire game.
AJ Green was
Just could not complete a catch. We want to talk about people with
A.J.
low
Green
catch
died.
percentages. Mr. 13 targets for 3 catches.
That's not AJ Green.
That's it.
Okay, he threw the ball 61 times. That doesn't say and talk about anything good. How many passes did he complete out of that?
37.
37, 38.
Okay, a little bit
37.
above 50.
Also, he threw
316
for over
yards,
300
3
yards.
touchdowns, no interceptions.
So it is impressive for a rookie.
Joe Burrow had a very good debut.
Yeah, and
Not his debut, was it?
when they went to talk to him afterwards, he was composed and he said, "Yeah, that was on me." He took the blame and went on to the next week, which is huge.
I guess what's even more impressive about that is he said that's the first time he's lost 2 games in a row in his life. What a privileged freaking life he's had.
Yeah,
Let's hate the guy for being good at what he does. Screw this guy who's so good he's only lost twice. Fuck Joe Burrow for being great at what he is. You're such a dick. Let's talk about the other side of that, though, where Baker Mayfield had moments where he looked really, really good. He was 16 of 23, not bad. They put up 35 points, but he threw for 219 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception, one of which, the thing that is surprising to me is, number one, he looked, if you watch any of the highlights, he looked like he threw for a lot more yards than he did. They only just like to show the Odell Beckham highlight 7 times.
Mm.
But he's still under pressure all of the time.
Yeah.
It's nonstop.
I don't get it.
What?
They built up that line, bringing in Conklin, spending a top draft pick on a line. I don't see how they're doing this. He should not be pressured.
Maybe Baker Mayfield's holding on to the ball too long, and I'm just seeing stuff in quicker motion. But the dude looks under duress almost every time he drops back. And I mean, there's some plays where he does have a clean pocket, and when he's got a clean pocket or nobody's on him, he makes some really good throws. But he is always under pressure.
If I was a team right now, if I was the Browns, if they said, "Can you have Mayfield or Joe Burrow right now?" I'd take Joe Burrow 100% of the time.
Yeah.
I would not want either of them because they're both young quarterbacks. They're going to get destroyed by my offensive line.
Yeah, but see,
yes, let's take Joe Burrow so he gets his knee broken in half in 2 games. Nick Chubb, though, was a beast. 22 yards or 22 carries, 124 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Kareem Hunt, 10 carries, 86 yards, and a touchdown. They looked like, to a lesser extent, the Green Bay running team, except for Kareem Hunt also added in another touchdown through the air, just like Aaron Jones did, but less productive.
The Browns have an all-pro running game. There's no reason why they should ever have throw the ball a lot unless they're behind. I mean, that running game should be able to carry it.
And they played like it.
And
They
it shows
played
in this
behind that running game and let Baker Mayfield throw 23 passes. He threw 2 touchdowns. He's 16 of 23, isn't terrible, and they relied on that running game. And I think that's what you're going to see coming out of the Browns is they're great run blockers. Jack Conklin is a fantastic run blocker, which I think that's what you're going to really see is less of a focus on pass protection, and let's get Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt going.
I would say, moving on from that game, I mean, I just like to make fun of the Falcons.
Yes, I was hoping we'd go
what
there
were
next.
they doing?
That frustrates me.
You had that game. McCarthy was being McCarthy and not being in the game in the fourth quarter. And you let him
I
back
want to
in.
know how Dak Prescott throws for 450 yards and rushes for 3 touchdowns and only throws for 1. Don't get me wrong, he put up 50 points on my fantasy team. I love him for that.
He vultured his own receivers.
He pretty much 450 passing yards though should still equal, I would want to say, at least 3 touchdowns.
He had
It's
2
an
receivers. So he had Mr. CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper well over 100 yards, and neither one of them got the touchdown.
Nope.
Little old Dalton Schultz with his 9 grabs, 88 yards and a touchdown, ruining fantasy lives everywhere.
How many people picked up Blake Jarwin only to have him be outplayed by this Dalton Schultz?
Right?
Dalton.
Michael Gallup, 2 grabs for 58 yards, and he has CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper each with 6 grabs for 100 yards. Like, both with 9 targets. You know Dak Prescott likes CeeDee Lamb.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
He
yeah.
likes his new toy.
The thing that really frustrates me is, I'm a huge Matt Ryan supporter. Having him have to sit on a team that just implodes every fourth quarter is
Maybe it's
getting
him.
depressing to watch. And it's not him all
It's
the
not
time.
him. It's not.
I mean,
Julio
their
did something.
defense just cannot stop. Julio Jones is disappearing. Why are we on a team where we have a guy named Julio Jones, and we're talking about the best receiver right now is Calvin Ridley?
Calvin Ridley, yeah.
Who, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I would have drafted him if I was the GM for the Raiders and I was looking for a wide receiver in the first round. I would have taken Ridley.
The
I like Ridley.
touchdown,
I think he's a beast.
the touchdown that Julio dropped, Stevie Johnson could have caught. Sorry, Bills fans.
Oof.
That hit him in the hands. Julio
It
does
was. It
not
was
drop
like
those balls.
right there.
No.
Yeah.
That's what
And
she
keep it. And Julio Jones. I mean, he did drop 2 balls. Calvin Ridley, he didn't catch 2 balls, and Calvin Ridley didn't catch 3. But Calvin Ridley was who he was looking at. He threw at Calvin Ridley 10 times. He threw at Julio Jones 4 times, and he completed 70% of his passes to Calvin Ridley.
And the touchdown that Julio dropped wasn't even from Matt Ryan. It was from Russell Gage.
Yeah.
But
Well, talking about
Who also
not having
biggest-
the ball.
caught a
the
touchdown?
biggest not person on the Falcons not getting the ball was that hands team on the onside kick.
We're gonna
What?
call them the nubs team because they did not have hands. They didn't do anything.
Also, I do want to
Like,
point
oh.
out that I think, Tyler, you and I are in a fantasy football league. And somebody said today, and it wasn't either you and it wasn't you and it wasn't me, why didn't they get Todd Gurley involved? I want to point out on camera, motherfucker had 21 carries. They tried. He just sucked ass. 2.9 yards a carry and not a single pass. And the reason they don't get him involved in the passing game is he sucks in the passing game. That's why the Rams
Yes.
got rid of him. One
Going
game
on
I
from
was really
there-
impressed in, and this is something that a lot of people might not realize, is the Tennessee-Jacksonville game. Most people that play fantasy are aware, but like your standard fan might not know that Jacksonville shedded its number 1 draft pick running back in the offseason, got rid of Leonard Fournette shortly before the season opened, and have been running a rookie by the names of James Robinson, who somebody in this room has on his fantasy team, who has been doing a fairly good job. But on the other side, you have Ryan Tannehill, who I believe he set a record for, or is currently 8 games in a row. No other quarterback has this right now. 8 games in a row with 2 touchdown passes or more.
Nice.
That's from, let me rephrase this, Ryan Tannehill, who Tyler has witnessed me argue with people over Ryan Tannehill before. He's witnessed me because people would say Ryan Tannehill sucks, and I would be there defending
No.
Ryan Tannehill every time.
He's on a
Tyler
bad
is
team.
with-
He's
and
doing
he's
what he
earned his
needs to
money.
He's on
do.
a bad team.
What was
He's
that?
managing games. He's doing what he needs to do.
I never
He
thought he was
knows.
going to be this explosive, like, first-round draft pick, maybe
No.
stock that he had. But he was vastly misused in Miami. And, when they let him throw the football, he can throw the football. He doesn't have to, which is what makes him so dangerous right now.
Right.
Keep in mind, he threw for only 239 yards, but he went for 18 of 24 passing, which for those of you who don't know is 75% completion, and he threw for 4 touchdowns. Those are stellar numbers and no picks. and he ran for 12
Yeah,
yards.
they're pretty good.
Yeah.
I also want to touch on Jonnu Smith, who's tearing it up on my fantasy team too.
84 yards and 2 touchdowns on 4 grabs.
Yep, with no Delaney Walker there, he got highly overshadowed in fantasy, and I believe I drafted him.
He did.
He's stepped up big, and look for him to keep doing that this year. He's I don't know who's the best receiver there in Tennessee. Is it AJ Brown? Is it Corey Davis?
They don't have one.
Yeah.
Their
They
best
don't have a best
receiver
receiver.
is
They have a lot of number 2s.
whatever tight end you have.
But Jacksonville's no slouch either. Gardner Minshew is putting up some good numbers as well.
He went 30 for 45, 339 yards, and 3 touchdowns.
He did throw 2 picks. They weren't pretty. But, I mean, still, like, this is a second-year guy that is –
That was a
39-yard,
5th-round draft pick?
Fans love him.
Yeah. He's a dude, bro, man.
DJ Shark looked like a beast. And I don't know if it's DJ Shark is that good or if it's Gardner Minshew, whatever it is, but, like,
I like it.
Spreading that ball.
Fun to watch a Jacksonville game.
He's spreading that ball. It's not even Shark anymore. It's Keelan Cool. It's Laviska Shenault.
Mr. Tyler Eifert back on the board, 3 grabs, 36 yards, and a touchdown. If you remember him, he was the guy that had an outstanding fantasy season, and then I drafted him the next 3 years in a row, and he got injured for the season every year.
Yeah, last time he had a good season was like 2013.
Shut up.
But going on from there, speaking of, I'll say that game, Titans did win that one 33-30. But since we were talking about the Dolphins, let's go on to
the Vikings yet.
Pittsburgh ended up taking down the Broncos, who they just worked out somebody. Oh,
Blake Bortles.
Blake Bortles, because Drew Lock has been injured. So we get to see the Bortles trading over in Denver. And leave it, of course, to John Elway to sign the tallest probably quarterback available right now. Besides, what's his face? The guy he drafted.
Osweiler's still up there.
Who?
Brock Osweiler. He's like
Osweiler.
fucking 8
He's
feet
a tree
tall.
somewhere.
I think he's 6'7". I think
He's
6'8".
6'8".
7. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but they went and grabbed Blake Bortles to come suck it up there. I'd rather have Jeff Driscoll, to be honest.
I would too.
I mean,
he almost brought him back in that game.
He completed like 52% of his passes, but I mean, he played good when it mattered. Melvin Gordon could have been better. 19 carries for 70 yards. Noah Fant did solid. He's on my team. 4 receptions, 57 yards, and a touchdown. I think, if anything, this injury to Locke helps Fant's numbers because he'll get the ball more as a security blanket.
Injury to Cortland Sutton, too.
Yeah. Melvin Gordon caught the rare touchdown pass this week. Little bitty one. Roethlisberger did what Roethlisberger's going to do, 300 yards, a couple of touchdowns, a pick. James Conner, who I've always said, that Pittsburgh offensive line is so good that Le'Veon Bell was never as good as people said he was. And it's been proven now for 2 years so far, well, 1.5, one in a game, that it doesn't matter because as soon as Le'Veon Bell went down, James Conner picked up the slack, was busting out 100-yard games. He's a solid fantasy option. I love James Conner. The surprising thing is that Juju Smith-Schuster he had 7 grabs, but he was not the guy Roethlisberger was looking for that day. It was Deontay Johnson.
Yeah.
Who had like 13 targets that game.
Chase Claypool, too. Showing, he had a nice long touchdown as well. My Notre Dame boy.
Another game we should probably mention at the very least is the 49ers-Jets game where
the whole team got hurt.
And Jimmy Garoppolo are now out.
And Mostert.
Uh,
Have they said how long they're out for?
Bosa's done for the year. ACL.
I think all of them are. Yep. No, Garoppolo's
a couple weeks.
Bosa is.
Yeah.
Bosa's an ACL tear also.
Yeah, that's rough.
Mostert's probably going to be a few weeks. Who was the other? Oh, Solomon Thomas got hurt too, but I didn't hear anything on him as well.
So I kind of want to take blame for this because shortly before the game that was happening, I was sitting there because there's this trend, if you ever watch it, teams that lose the Super Bowl struggle to get back
Mhm.
there oftentimes. And I was looking at the San Francisco 49ers after the first game. I was like, who's going to keep the 49ers out of that NFC Championship game? And then the next week, everybody
Themselves.
goes down on their roster. Like 5 minutes later, everyone's dead.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, no, what did I do?
Here's
So
the
I'm
thing,
sorry,
though.
49ers fans, that's my bad.
Here's the thing, though. They lost all those players in the first half, and we're still beating the Jets 31-3. Now, is that a testament to how
the
good the
Jets.
Niners are, or how bad the Jets are?
I
How
really
bad the
think
Jets are.
it's a saying at how bad the Jets are. I never liked Sam Darnold. I thought he could be okay at best. He is not even okay. He is trash. Adam Gase is trash. Get him the fuck out of New York. I was a huge supporter of Adam Gase, but I have watched a quarterback that, you know what, maybe he has potential to be an elite quarterback and I'm just wrong, but he sure as shit does not show it under this terrible-ass coach. This guy should stick to being an offensive coordinator and just run offenses and stay away from being a head coach, because he has made Le'Veon Bell look pedestrian and he has turned Sam Darnold worse every year. And that's really hard to do considering he got him as a rookie.
Yeah. Speaking of that draft,
Traded
though,
away their best receivers and replaced them with like Brashard Perriman. Who cares?
Yeah.
What are they doing?
As I speaking of that draft, though, the person that I thought was going to be the best out of that draft had a stellar game with Josh Allen.
Yeah.
That's who I thought. You guys all know I thought he was going to be the best. If I could sit here and watch Josh Allen stiff arm a linebacker into the ground over and over for an hour again, I would.
So my
That
problem
was a
with
beautiful
Josh
play.
Allen was I didn't think he'd be the worst. I also didn't think he'd be the best. But with Josh Allen specifically, I said he needed to grow up. I even think I said in our podcast we did on the AFC, so I was like, I like Josh Allen, but I think he needs to grow up and show some heavy maturity this year. And dude has grown up. Like, he has become a beast on the field. I take back any criticism I have about Josh Allen. He has been slinging the football. He has been accurate. He has been sharp. He is not forcing passes. And he's taking off and running instead of throwing this, which is something that I think makes that team dangerous. And they finally getting Stephon Diggs involved, which is even sicker. You know, you have guys like Zay Jones making outstanding catches and they're clicking, man.
Here's the thing, though. Don't overlook, and it's kind of
about?
shocking. We're talking about as good as they played. They only won that game by 3 points against the Dolphins.
Their defense really does concern me. They don't really have
defense played bad.
a lot of scariness.
I think the big thing, it just goes to show that the Miami Heat, I think don't people downplay as much as that can affect a team, especially a team that coming from Buffalo that's not used to that warm weather. Yeah.
I got really confused. I think you switched over to basketball there for a second. You said Miami.
No, the heat and the humidity. The Bears suffered from it a couple of years ago when they were down there. They should have trounced the Dolphins.
A lot of teams
were
really struggle in Miami when it's super humid down there. And keep in mind, too, like, Ryan Fitzpatrick seems to play his best when he has to do nothing but throw the football when he's behind. You want him to win a football game for you? No. You want a quarterback to put up numbers in garbage time? I'm calling Ryan Fitzpatrick, because that's where he seems to play his best football, is when he's fucked off in the first half and now he's playing with a 25-point deficit. He can somehow come from behind. That said, like, he threw the ball 47 times for 328 yards. Buffalo's secondary is not outstanding right now.
Just kind of shocking.
It is kind of shocking. But keep in mind, too, the majority of those yards and those catches went to Myles Gaskin, Mike Gesicki. Mike Gesicki, who is a beast of a tight end. And you're starting to see this more and more, that people cannot match up with these tight ends. I don't know if Gesicki's that good. I don't know if Waller's that good. I don't know if Kittle's that good. What I do know is that they create matchup nightmares on the field, that if you're fast, you're that big, nobody's going to cover you. And we have seen them dominate so far.
The tight end position has been evolving into almost receiver. Like, yes, Tony Gonzalez, yes. But ever since him, we've seen, Jimmy Graham.
Antonio Gates.
Yes. And it's –
really, if you're going to give credit to the involvement of the tight end position, there's two guys you have to give credit to above anybody else. One is Tony Gonzalez, and the other is Antonio Gates.
Mhm.
Because
Hands
they
down.
were the
Yeah.
they are who you model your new tight end position off. Fast,
Exactly.
tall, basketball player type ability guys that can box people out and burn linebackers on the field because they're so hard to match up with. You're going to put a 5'10" corner against a 6'6" Gronkowski? No. They tried that in the Super Bowl, which the best they had to do is they found a 6'6" corner to cover him. That's what they did. Yeah, I don't know.
All right. So just
I was
quickly,
like, well,
moving back around the league here. Rams trounced the Eagles. The Eagles are garbage this year. I think this is Carson Wentz's last year there.
I don't think
Yeah.
they're going to keep him.
they're a trash team.
Mediocre quarterback. I do want to point out that Tyler, our old boss, used to say that he thinks Carson Wentz is going to be a Hall of Famer. Said that as he was drafted, and we were like, no fucking way. And then he had that really good season, and I was like, he might be right. And then he's been trash.
Yeah.
Just hard garbage.
Cardinals
I don't know necessarily that it's his fault, though,
team.
because who is he had to throw the football to?
I mean, you
Exactly.
could say Alshon
The fact that you
Jeffrey.
both just stared at the screen blankly and tried to think about that is exactly my point. You want to know who his receivers are? Deshaun Jackson again. Yeah, they were hurting that bad. They went and brought back Deshaun Jackson and Alshon Jeffrey. Those are probably the two best wide receivers on that roster.
He does
Yeah,
have
Alshon
Zach
Jeffrey's
Ertz.
still in the NFL. Yeah. But they do have a pair of really outstanding tight ends in Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert. But they don't have a good running game. I mean, Miles Sanders did put in work this week, but of course, you had a 19-point game. I just want to point out, you guys lost by almost 20 points, and you still ran the ball 20 times. Why weren't you throwing more?
Yeah.
I know, Miles Sanders put up a good game, 95 yards on 20 carries for 4.8 yards, but is that because they were down and the Rams were just expecting him to throw? Or is it legitimately because he was doing that well? I don't think it was the latter. I think it was because they were down and expecting to throw, and they didn't. Wentz, with a 20-point loss, only put up 242 yards and 2 interceptions. Missed their first-round draft pick did catch all 4 targets at him for 41 yards, but he's not doing anything. They have put nothing around. They have done nothing but take away talent around Wentz when it comes to the offensive line, when it comes to the linebacker position, when it comes to the wide receiver position. It's like they're trying to build the model of the Patriots when they had Gonzalez and Gronkowski. They want to run a dual tight end threat. They want to copy the Ravens. They want to copy these teams and be like, dude, get him some wide receivers because he's not that kind of quarterback.
Right. He's not a good quarterback at all. Right now.
He might be
Anymore.
if he
Get
gets
him
the protection,
weapons. He will be.
receivers.
But,
But next 2 games
moving
I'd
on.
like to touch on. Sorry, Tyler, but the next 2 games I want to touch on, they're going to involve one player, and it's going to show how much DeAndre Hopkins means to a team. The Cardinals 2-0, the Texans 0-2. Granted, the Texans started the season by playing the Chiefs and now losing to the Ravens.
So give them a little credit.
I'll give them a little credit, yes.
I will give them 0 credit.
This team is 0-2. Man, they're trash. They lost to the.
I'm not saying they're
best
trash.
team. I know.
I'm just saying how flat they look as an offense.
They did not look good at all.
No.
Deshaun Watson looks meh.
Meanwhile,
it looks like I thought David Johnson was going to look. Brandon Cooks is doing what Brandon Cooks does everywhere he goes. I don't know why he can't stay long-term anywhere because he puts up numbers. Randall Cobb caught 5 balls for 59 yards. They just look pedestrian. Their defense doesn't look good. J.J. Watt looks meh. Then on the other hand, you have Lamar Jackson who just puts in work.
not just that, Baltimore's running game, J.K. Dobbins and Mark Ingram.
And Gus Edwards.
Did he have a good game? I
Gus Edwards,
the highlights.
73 yards.
Rushing with 10 carries for 73 yards. He had 7.3 yards per carry.
It's a scary-looking backfield there.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
And then the
Meanwhile,
Cardinals.
Look at if you're going to be a running back on the Ravens, you have to be selfless because you're not going to – they switch up their looks so much.
Go ahead on the Cardinals, Tyler.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll say, I mean, like you were saying, the Cardinals, their 2-0. I mean, yeah, they're not playing. I mean, they played the Niners the first week before the Niners got hurt, and then they did play a Washington team that they beat the Eagles. I mean, yeah, the Eagles are trash, but they don't have a bad defense,
No,
and they put in work right away. They went up 20 points on them in the
Do you
first half.
remember how many sacks did Washington have last week? Like 8
8.
or 9? It was
8.
8?
Yeah,
And that didn't
I
look
mean,
like
they
they
have a
got
good
anything on
defense.
Kyler Murray. Kyler
No.
Murray
He's a
early
different athlete.
He's a
though,
baller.
Yeah.
He's gonna do work.
early MVP running. You know, him and Russell Wilson are
I was
having
just
some
gonna say that's
fantastic
the only
years.
other game we have to touch is that game,
Mhm.
and he's looking like
Beast.
he's expected to.
Who? Murray?
Russell
Russell
Wilson.
Wilson.
Oh, yeah. Russell Wilson's.
He's a stud.
That
We've known this
offense.
for years.
And Kyler Murray looks like another. Like, I love having Russell Wilson and Kyler Murray in the same division. It makes me so happy.
I can't wait for
It's
when
fun.
they play each other. That is going to be one hell of a game.
They're good games, and they're both quarterbacks that you can't cut out because they can extend plays, and they're both accurate, and they both can run. The one thing that I was really excited to see is I was really wondering how DeAndre Hopkins would fit into that offense, and they really utilized him heavily. And he didn't have a lot of yards, but he was getting the tough catches.
But over
I
to
think
that.
that wraps. I'll say
Well,
the last game to wrap it up will be the Seahawks-Patriots game coming in. That was a
I've
good
seen
game.
the Patriots lose.
That was a good game.
I love to see Cam Newton back in it though too.
I want to love the thought process of Belichick and Pete Carroll going into that final play, Belichick wanting to beat Carroll by running it from the 1-yard line and then not being successful.
Wow, I
And
didn't even think about it like that.
Pete Carroll thinking, that's why you don't run on the 1 yard.
I will say, like, Cam Newton threw for 397 yards. He didn't necessarily look good doing it, but he did throw for 397 yards. A lot of that was Julian Edelman, who's done pretty well.
They're relying on that stupid quarterback draw by Cam a lot.
That's going to get – teams are going to figure that out pretty quickly, and it's not going to be as big of a threat.
One sad note from that game, I know since we're in the Midwest, we probably have a lot of Wisconsin Badger fans in the area. Patriots running back James White lost his father shortly before that game, so I just want to, send our condolences to the White family, knowing that he's played football in the area. It was a sad story. It was awesome to see Devin McCourty kind of show him some love on that pick 6 in the beginning of the game. So hope to see James White back out there. Yeah. So. But other than that, I think that wraps up week 2.
One thing I did want to mention outside of NFL is this weekend is I think it's one of the most anticipated UFC fights ever, with Israel Adesanya against Paulo Costa. Both are undefeated. That is going to be an amazing fight because I love the last Stylebender. I think he's outstanding.
Who you got?
Israel Adesanya, man.
That's what I'm thinking too.
Yeah.
I don't know much about the other guy, but yeah.
He's a knockout guy, and Adesanya reminds me of a better. I can't think of the name right now, but we'll get to it at some point.
All right. So to wrap it up here, I got 2 trivia questions, and we're gonna steer away from football on them. First one, I don't think you guys will get. I'll be surprised if you do.
I'll Google it after I get it wrong.
It's going to involve hockey. Stanley Cup Finals are currently going on. They feature the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Dallas Stars, the 2 most southern teams in the NHL, and they're playing in Edmonton, the northernmost city in Canada. Who was the last Canadian hockey team to win the Stanley Cup?
Was it the Ottawa Senators?
No.
Maple Leafs.
No. God, Maple Leafs haven't won in a long fucking time. Since like the 60s. It's a team that has won the most Stanley Cups, and it has been since 1993, the Montreal Canadiens.
Oh. They're also the Canadians.
Yeah.
Get it? Get it?
All right. Second trivia question here kind of involves basketball. The Chicago Bulls just announced a little bit ago that Billy Donovan will be their new head coach. I'm kind of excited about that. We'll see how that goes.
I like that, actually. I think he's a good coach.
I think he'll do really well there.
It's surprising that the Thunder fired him. He turned that team around after losing Durant, Westbrook, and Harden in a very short time period.
That won like back-to-back titles in Florida, right?
That's where I'm going with this. Yes,
That's
Billy Donovan won 2 national championships in Florida.
Did I just get the question right?
No.
Yeah.
I
was like, I'm amazing.
I'm going to try and explain it. He won 2 national championships at Florida. He almost won another in the year 2000. A member of that team is still playing in the NBA today. Do you know who it is?
Of his Florida team?
Of his 2000 Florida team that was a national runner-up, there's a player from that team that is still playing in the NBA today.
Who's the player?
I'll give you a hint. He is playing in Florida.
Is it Haslam?
It is Udonis Haslem.
Was it really Udonis Haslem?
Udonis Haslem
I feel like he's been playing since like the 70s. Though.
Exactly. He was a junior on the 2000 national runner-up team that lost to Michigan State, and he is barely playing on the Miami Heat right now. So that would be kind of something if he comes back one more year. Billy Donovan coaches against him. So nicely done, Tyler. That's a little bit of trivia for the week. You guys got anything else to add, sports-wise, that happened this week?
No, I have not been paying attention to the baseball with Boston.
Baseball playoffs are going to get started here soon.
I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, playoffs are getting started soon for that. The only thing I got is
I don't even think the Red Sox are in the hunt, man.
No. The Tampa Bay Rays have a chance to win that division tonight, which is shocking because everybody thought the Yankees were going to do it, but the Yankees had a huge slump there for a while.
Slump. Say it again. You said slump.
Slump. But here's the biggest thing about that is we're kind of leading to, I'd love to see it in all Chicago World Series. The White Sox killing it in the AL. Cubs, one of the top teams in the NL. That would be an amazing World Series to see.
I am just thankful that the Pittsburgh Pirates exist. So, the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Texas Rangers exist because otherwise the Red Sox would be tied as the worst team in Major League. So,
the Royals aren't even that bad? Jesus.
Only thing I have is in honor of Kobe, Anthony Davis hit a game winner and yelled Kobe as loud as he hit it.
That was dope. The Lakers are undefeated in those Mamba jerseys too. So
dude,
if they can somehow
out for it's gonna be Lakers Heat.
Yeah.
And
honestly, I wouldn't even be mad. I wouldn't even be mad if the Lakers won it this year. Just for Kobe. No. That would be amazing to see.
I wouldn't mind either because I don't necessarily mind LeBron winning games like most people seem to like hate on him. I would have a problem, however, if what was it, Lorenzo Ball, if he was still on
it. Yeah. Lonzo Ball.
All right, we got to go.
All righty. Sounds like a plan. We will catch you all next week for Week 3 recap. Signing off. I'm Aaron.
I'm TJ.
I'm Tyler.
Take her easy.
Later.